Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this out there on the World Wide Web. This is Jeremy Geelan for SYS-CON TV. We are here at 8th Cloud Expo, New York. I have with me Dave Geada from Quest Software. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
Well, thank you for having me here, and we're so excited to be here at Cloud Expo. I've been to a few of these over my career, and I've got to say I've been the most thrilled about this one.
It's pretty busy today.
Well, extremely busy, and what's interesting to me is to see the transition from wild-eyed enthusiasm about the cloud to pragmatic determinism. We've got a lot of serious customers here really wanting to talk about cloud technology and talking about how to deploy it in their organizations and wanting to do that in a 6 to 9 month time frame. Which
and tough questions?
Some are challenging, some can be very basic. I think there's a broad gamut of cloud awareness in the audience, but really it's a marked difference from last year's show. I think we're much farther along. It's reflective of the the adoption and maturity of cloud computing as a whole.
A lot of people, a lot of international people here, so they're coming, seeing the US really as being in the vanguard. That's always nice.
And it's actually been a thrill for me because what's interesting is that the geographies might change, but the inherent challenges remain the same. And and there are some national nuances to this, but for the most part, I think the challenge with cloud right now is really understanding how can I leverage it in my organization and how can I do that in a secure, reliable fashion, and how can I match the workloads in my organization to the right type of cloud computing solution. So having these conversations has been really partly educational, part thrilling because I have some of the answers for these folks, but it's been a great ride so far.
From a Quest point of view, Dave, how can you leverage the brand quite specifically in a cloud context? What is it that you can offer to people that immediately makes you think, that's kind of what I'd have expected from Quest. This is good.
Well, that's a great question, and I think Quest has a long heritage of, we're not the guys who make the hardware or who make the platforms. We're the guys who make all that stuff better. And we do the same for cloud. So really our solutions tend to be platform agnostic, hypervisor agnostic solutions that help you leverage your existing investments in hardware and virtualization technology and refashion them, reposition them as a cloud within your own organization. So I think we can leverage our brand quite effectively and also leverage our existing partnerships with companies like Oracle and Microsoft and VMware, for example. So.
And as a customer, what might my pain points be? Just that I can't get my arms around the whole notion of migrating to the cloud and how much and when and all the rest of it?
Well, I think what I would point to in terms of answering your question is the consumerization of IT. That's really raised the bar in terms of end-user experiences for what technology should be. And to give you an example, I was talking to a customer just a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how, in their traditional delivery model, they would deliver infrastructure in 3 weeks. Now, 10 years ago, 3 weeks would have been a monumental improvement over delivery times. In today's context, it's not immediate, so end users are disappointed. Their expectations are much higher. I also remember 10 or 15 years ago when the coolest job around was working for an enterprise, especially if you were a sales guy, right? Because you got the latest pagers, latest cell phones, latest gadgets. Today, as a consumer, I can not only purchase technology, hardware, that's cooler than the stuff I get in my own enterprise, but at the same time, I have anywhere access to all these amazing services. I can actually download an app right now that will point me around the show floor here at Cloud Expo, which is incredible. But those expectations come back into the enterprise. So the challenge is really how do we take the investments we've made in infrastructure and refashion them and deliver them as an IT service and make that as easily consumable as what these folks can do at home. Again, Quest, I think, is very well positioned to help enterprises make this transition. The other thing I like to point out is that regardless of whether it was a conscious decision on your part or an unconscious decision, the first day you signed that virtualization contract, you were on the road to delivering IT as a service as opposed to delivering infrastructure.
It's the law of unintended consequences.
Exactly. And again, Quest is well positioned to help. And by help, I mean very often a lot of the folks that I talk to here at the show today actually are dealing with the challenge of making the case for deploying a private cloud. And they're trying to make that business case because their users are essentially doing an end run around IT and directly consuming services at places like Amazon. And of course introducing a lot of risks in terms of cost and security. So they're challenged to deploy an alternative and really trying to figure out how do I build this case. And again, we can help them with that. We can help them refashion their IT infrastructure to deploy it as a cloud, and more importantly, once you've deployed this infrastructure as a cloud, that's when the work really begins. That's when you start defining IT service catalog items, and we can help those folks with that process as well.
Now, where can we send people if for any reason they're not at Cloud Expo, they're not in New York, but they've heard what you're saying, they're remembering the light is going off Quest, that's right. I'd like to see more. Where should they go on the web?
Well, they can visit us at www.quest.com/cloud-automation, and there they'll find a number of resources available to them to help them make this decision and make this transition, and that's the place to go.
Good place to start. Call to action from Dave Geada, Quest Software. You've got a kind of personal invitation to go to that URL right now. Thanks again for talking with us, and thank you for joining us out there on the World Wide Web.